to stop it. Nothing. You know why they did nothing? Because it's too fucking hard to do it. They're gutless. The reason this country in the West is in the shape it's in is because the conservatives who talked a good game about doing better didn't have the balls to sit there and fight and say no. This is why you have moms going to school boards to throw this pornography out. The reason we're winning in the United States, we're not depending upon a conservative elite who are gutless and feckless. We're depending upon mothers and fathers and school boards. We're depending upon working class people who are taking their extra time to go to precinct strategy because they said, hey, we're prepared to stand and fight and not let our country be taken. And that's what's important. Everything else is just conversation. You have to have the political will and the muscle to sit there and say, they can call me a racist, they can call me a nativist, they can call me a xenophobe, a sexist, a homophobe, all of it. When they get to that name calling, that means they've lost the argument and we're winning. You've got to draw that pus. You've got to lance the boil and draw that pus out of the system. And the conservatives aren't prepared to do that. They'll curl up in the fetal position because they're not going to be acceptable at the clubs. You have to get over, you have to understand we're unclubbable. And we're unclubbable and we're fucking proud of it, okay? And we're going to save our country. And eventually, leaders will step up in England and come to the forefront and save the United Kingdom.
And with that, welcome everyone to the Breakaway USA News Show. It is going to be an incredible show. We have GameStop is absolutely ripping right now. We have Hunter Biden in the middle of a trial where all of his old dirty laundry is being brought back to life in a laptop that, according to the government, never existed, but now is being used to submit evidence to court. We have this man that we just watched, Steve Bannon, is going to go to jail for 4 months for defying a congressional subpoena, which Hunter Biden also did the exact same thing, but did not, as of yet, has not been charged. And has Trump chosen a vice president? It is going to be an amazing show. And of course, my name is Fabian Garcia. And as always, we have Mr. Kevin Fairs and Mr. David Kate. And David, take it away.
Absolutely. Well, today is a historical day because Steve Bannon becomes the first person or individual to be jailed for contempt of Congress in decades. In decades, that's right. So it's a lot of hypocrisy actually in DC right now, because essentially you have an individual that was subpoenaed. He defied the subpoena, and then they referred him for criminal, or they held him in contempt first, and then they referred criminal charges to him. And then Biden's DOJ actually took that. And it's absurd because it only happens to Republicans. When this happens to Democrats, they don't do anything about it. And one of the probably most infamous cases about an individual that was held in contempt, he was referred to the DOJ, and the DOJ didn't do anything about it, was Eric Holder. That is the Attorney General under President Obama. He in 2012, he failed to provide documents related to the Fast and Furious gun running scandal, which is an incredible scandal on its own. We might have to tap into that sometime. And the Department of Justice did not prosecute him. Louise Lerner is another one of these individuals, IRS Exempt Organization Division. She was involved in a 2013 scandal where the IRS targeted conservative groups. She was held in contempt of Congress in 2014, but was not prosecuted by the Department of Justice. You see a pattern here how Democrats under a Democrat DOJ don't end up getting charged with a criminal offense. But Steve Bannon, who did the exact same thing all of these people did for actually a partisan thing at the end of the day, right? It was the select subcommittee of January 6th. It was a farce committee that was illegitimate at the end of the day. And he defied that subpoena, and now he's going to jail for 4 months. They're scared of him. Steve Bannon is the architect behind America First. He's the individual that put Trump in office in the first place. They're just so scared of the power that he has over the electorate and making Trump president again.
No, you're absolutely right, David. And I mean, if we look at this, I think the most important thing to say is, why is Steve Bannon really going to prison? And I think you said it well, is we obviously see a hypocrisy. And so let's really consider why he's going to prison. And let's also outline the story just a little bit here. He's asked to report to prison by July 1st. July 1st, just about a month before the Republican National Convention. Interesting. Pretty soon here. in an idea of contempt of Congress due to not reporting for the January 6th stuff. No, the real reason, as we saw by all this hypocrisy that you just laid out, the real reason Steve Bannon is going to prison is not for any reason contempt of Congress. It's not even because it had anything to do with January 6th. It is because he is an outspoken pro-Trump pundit that has the eyes, ears, and minds of a lot of people in America. That is the only reason Steve Bannon is going to prison. Now, you could pull up the court documents and be like, well, this is what it says. This is what it says. Of course, they're not going to put on there he's going to prison for supporting Trump, just as much as they won't say that Trump was convicted for political purposes. That's what this is. They are weaponizing the justice system. And when Trump comes out after his conviction and says, they're not after me, what they really want is you, this is a perfect example of how that's playing out.
And, to go along with what you guys were saying, there was no need for this to happen unless, as you said, they kept pursuing it, because this has happened time and time again. And I think, David, you said in decades this hasn't happened. Well, what do you do to your opponents if you have one of the most intelligent strategists on their side who is going to be advising the Republican Party and President Trump in a time where we're getting closer to the most important election we've had in the history of the United States, or at least in my lifetime? What do you do if you don't want him to be helping? You put him in prison. They did the same thing to political prisoners throughout history. You put him in jail when you want to prison their mind, and you can't. If you can't shut him up, if you can put him in prison, you effectively do the same thing. Now, I don't understand why Democrats are okay with this happening, because, listen, when the tides turn, and they are turning, they are going to be the ones screaming bloody murder when this happens to them. They are the ones who instigated it. If you open that Pandora's box, you cannot close it. And that's a very detrimental thing. And you guys hear me talk about this all the time. I believe that there are elements in our government that want to destroy the United States from within. They actually say it themselves, not the people in government, but the people around it. So if this is a way to get to that end, they are going to do it.
Yeah, they sure will. And I just want to reiterate what you just said, is that it's a political witch hunt at the end of the day. They want to remove a political strategist that knows how to win elections. He knows how to convey the message that the Trump campaign is trying to get out to the people. It's absurd to see it at the end of the day. I really think that Democrats are gonna they shoot themselves in the foot every time they do this, literally, because they set this precedent, and then they go cry about it when we use this exact same precedent against them. So when certain individuals refuse to comply with a subpoena, Merrick Garland, for example, does that mean that when Trump, for example, gets in office and we have an actual normal attorney general, then can we hold him in contempt in office and actually charge him for defying that subpoena? These are the precedents that we set. And then we end up getting into these political fights and not actually doing anything to make America great again. So at the end of the day, I mean, like, this damages Republicans, because obviously Steve Bannon is a political genius when it comes down to this election season, especially. But at the same time, I feel like it's going to hurt Democrats as well because of the precedent that they just set here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's the thing is right now, and I talked about this on my show on Tuesday, is that the difference between Republicans and Democrats right now is Republicans are doing a very good job of controlling the narrative. And it's primarily due to the ability of social media. Look, the left on social media, but also in our mainstream media, will constantly push the convicted felon narrative. Like, Trump's a convicted felon, Trump's a convicted felon, Trump's a convicted felon. And like black people with the N-word, Republicans have taken that term back. It is ours, everybody. We are calling Trump a convicted felon with a badge of honor, because we recognize, and many others, not just Republicans, moderates, libertarians, independents, see it as Trump is a convicted felon because it is political persecution. And so when we talk about whether or not this will hurt Republicans or Democrats more, I believe as of right now, if we can frame this as how it really is, and what I just said it was, as political persecution, and people recognize that Steve Bannon is going to jail because Joe Biden jails his political opponents, then it will continue to benefit Republicans and hurt Democrats.
The American people see right through this. I mean, today we saw that report that Trump's campaign claims that they raised $400 million. And Steve Bannon going to jail is just an extension of the resentment and grievances we're seeing with the American people. They can't stand this political persecution that they're seeing of Peter Navarro. It started with Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro is the one that took on China. He was the genius, the architect behind the economic warfare that we're reporting against China. We've all heard 2019 how good the Trump administration moved the ball essentially against China when it comes down to the economic warfare that we're having with them, and it was all because of Peter Navarro. Well, what do? They throw Peter Navarro into jail first. He's in jail literally right now, and Steve Bannon is going to come join him here in less than a month right now. They're one political position strategist after another they're taking away from Trump. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you here's what I don't get. The Democrats, and I often don't talk about parties. I don't talk about Democrats and Republican because in the end, a lot of them are very socialist, Marxist types of real. But in this case, it's the actual Democratic Party who is doing this. Why would you want to make, especially after Trump raised $400 million since he was indicted or convicted, which last week we talked about how he raised $800 million in his entire 2020 presidential campaign, and in just under 2 weeks he's raised half of that. That is astronomically insane. Why would you continue to persecute people that are part of his troop and put them in prison when you see this is the ramification that you get? If one school of thought that I believe could be is they are so intent on getting these people in prison and they're not thinking about anything else. It's like this rage that you have. The other is that they really don't think that this is going to affect them negatively. Both of those, I think, are completely incorrect. And the longer this goes on, the more fired up people get. And I know we talked about this as well. You want voters, you need voters to come out and vote for you. Every single one that you could possibly get. There was nothing else that's going to invigorate the Republican Party and the people on the right, and even people in the middle and on the left, as a little bit on the left, and say this is clearly targeted. This is clearly not American. So who are the people that are doing this, right? And they're going to turn even regular voters away from I've told you guys this last week. I have two friends specifically who had never donated to a political party have now donated to Trump. And that's really incredible to see.
It is incredible to see. And again, it's just an extension of what people feel like the overall consciousness across the American, across America. I really want to watch this video actually of what Steve said us at the courtroom. And I don't know if this is from today or a month ago, but either way, I'm sure it's going to be fire.
And we're going to go all the way to Supreme Court if we have to, but I want to say something specifically about the Justice Department. Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, the entire Justice Department, they're not going to shut up Trump. They're not going to shut up Navarro. They're not going to shut up Bannon, and they're certainly not going to shut up MAGA. If you look right here, you reporters, in the 2.5 or 3 years we've been here, look at the rise of MAGA, look at the rise of Donald Trump. If the election was held today, according to Harry Enton over at CNN, President Trump would win in a landslide. All of this, besides the major legal issues that have to be addressed, all of this is about one thing. This is about shutting down the MAGA movement, shutting down grassroots conservatives, shutting down President Trump. Not only are we winning, we are going to prevail. And every number and every poll shows that. There's nothing that can shut me up and nothing that will shut me up. There's not a prison. There's not a prison built. There's not a prison built or a jail built that will ever shut me up. All victory to MAGA. We're going to win this. We're going to win at the Supreme Court. And more importantly, we're going to win on November 5th in an amazing landslide with the Senate, the House, and also Donald J. Trump back as President of the United States. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Ooh.
That was amazing.
Listen, those are the words of a man who's ready to fight, man.
Oh, yeah. Fabian, I just want to also build off on what you were saying. You were saying, who would want to do this to the institutions and whatnot? And what is the overall plan for Democrats when they do this stuff? Like, why would they open up this Pandora box? This is what I always think about, because at the end of the day, now you both have, similarly, as Democrats have been shouting for a while, the Justice Department, it's not justice, it's injustice. We're looking for actual social justice. Well, now on the right, you have the same thing, not in the terms of like we're looking for social justice, but they're saying that the Justice Department or judicial system is corrupted. So maybe at the end of the day, this is what the elites, the globalists actually want, is the erosion of these institutions. Because if you can outlaw judicial systems, just justice in general and law, which is what kind of both sides are starting to push for, then you know who this benefits the most. It's not the average American, it's not the average person, it's going to be these elites who we're going to end up pushing more power to, because government, please come save me. Look at this lawlessness that is happening. So at the end of the day, sometimes I think, the plan is not so much short term as much as it's long term. It's maybe to erode everything that makes this nation great at the end of the day, and safe, I would say. Well, to the degree it is right now.
Absolutely. And I know we have a lot of different things that we're going to talk about, but I feel like the Steve Bannon story will be a notch in the metaphorical belt of what we will constantly talk about with our justice system this election cycle. Our justice system is what is defining 2024. Back in 2020, it was race relations and COVID. That's what was stoked in fear for everybody. And I think what the left was trying to do was they were trying to, for 2024, to just say, why would you ever vote for a convicted felon? Why would you ever vote for somebody who was going through so much criminal investigations, criminal processes, everything? Why would you vote for somebody like that? That's what they were trying to control your brain with. But the Republicans were able to shed a reasonable amount of light to show you, hey, maybe based on the preponderance of evidence, you should be skeptical of our justice system. And that's what is going to define this election, is our justice system.
Yep. Very true. Very true. Oh, Dave, I think something big just happened today, and I think a lot of people kind of want to know about something with the last name Stop and the first name Game.
Oh, that's right. So GameStop, right? Look at that.
Yeah,
Right,
want to go to a
top.
quick commercial and then we'll get into it?
I think so, right? We got to talk about what Roaring Kitty put out there. So we'll be
Yes,
right
we
back
do.
after a good commercial break.
And we are about to get into the GameStop craziness that just happened today. It is all over the news. After Hours is going crazy. People are making tons of money. And if you bet against GameStop, you lost a lot of money today. But before we get into that, I quickly want to give a shout out to our amazing sponsor, Freedom 2O. They're an incredible company. They are a water company that has a lot of products coming out other than water. But they help us make this show possible. They do fight for freedom of speech, which is what we are all about. So we work perfectly together. They are also the official water sponsor of Turning Point USA. So wherever you see Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, you will see them. You will also see them at ActCon this coming weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, over in Detroit, because we as a team will all be there. So make sure you check them out, show them some love. Helping them helps us. freedom2o.com/USA. That is what I wanted to say. And this water is really damn good.
It is. And as always, this commercial comes at the perfect time, because let's talk about let's talk about people that don't like freedom. And those are the hedge funds that are losing money today. So, and I know Kev got riled up when we were talking about this before the show started, because I was like, was mad. I was like, why did they halt GME? Well, first of all, GME surges 47% after Roaring Kitty announces a live stream. And he's having that live stream tomorrow. So as soon as he announced that, GME literally flew up. There, you can see that it surged up 47%. I believe it's up 20 or 30 or even 40% after hours. I know it hit
Yep, up 30% after hours.
30% after hours. It's absolutely incredible. And again, this is always one of my favorite stories to talk about because, well, before I get into that, actually, let's also show AMC. I can't just leave AMC out.
Yeah, that's what I'm
this,
saying.
right?
Everybody's talking about GME. AMC is doing incredibly well as well. And the reason why I care about AMC is because I don't have a cent invested into, just put stock after it. Yeah. I don't have a cent invested into GME, but I have money in AMC. And anybody who knows, because we've been talking about this, and we started talking about this just about a month ago, because that was when Roaring Kitty posted and there was a quick hit, and pun intended, because I'm Kev and I do Kev's quick hits, but there was a quick hit of GME and AMC where they both did really well for just like a day. And then it went back down and then it subsided. And to the point of which I had lost like almost $100, which I know isn't that much, but I just like play around with stocks. I'm not one of the people, I don't day trade. I do other things to make money. But my point being is that a lot of people were at losses for the last month, and people were like, what the heck? I thought we were going to hit the next short squeeze. But this is why they say, everybody, you got to have diamond hands. You got to hold. You got to hold. You got to hold and hold and hold and hold, because eventually even my few $100 investment can go up to the motherfucking moon, everybody. To the fucking moon. We're going to see it. We're going to see it. And we'll talk about the politics and everything of it. But in terms of strictly the finance of it, fucking hold, everybody. Diamond fucking hands and to the moon, you retarded apes. Let's do it.
By the way, Kev is not giving any financial advice. So,
I have no
disclaimer.
certification. I have no certification or any financial guru. No, I am.
You are certified, Kevin, in apeness, so I will give you that. But I will say this: I kind of expected what we saw in the very beginning, a very quick pop. You see, this hasn't happened in since what, really 2021 is when it first went crazy, right?
Yep.
You have to think about what the hedge funds have been planning since then. Once Roaring Kitty went back into hibernation, everybody that was working in hedge funds knew at some point this would be revived. It was just the right point and the right time. Well, hedge funds have even gotten more sophisticated since then. Dark pool trading has gotten even more sophisticating since then, and the high frequency trading. Basically the automated traders have gotten even more intense since then. So I feel like the first day when it popped, everyone was going crazy. There was a lot of things that were already pre-prepared for this moment. They shot their shot because of apes, diamond handing, and because of what happened now. This, I believe, is when the real battle is going to begin, because we are going into uncharted waters. Whatever the hedge funds have done, they've shot their shot. That's already been dissipated into the market. I'm sure they have something else up their sleeve, but this is going to be the next iteration of that. And apparently he's going to make something like $200 million, which is good for him. But it's even better to see the hedge funds running for the hills right now and trying to figure out how to shut this
Wait.
Yeah.
$200 million. Are you talking about Roaring Kitty?
The last I saw.
He made 550 million today. So
okay, this must have been before then.
Yeah, and we can. I think we have that in the chat production. We can pull up like what Roaring Kitty made today, today.
I think it's important to talk to people once again. And we already have it up. Never mind.
Yeah,
I was gonna stall a little bit, but
look at that, like so he has 5 million shares of GME, and he has 120,000 call options that expire in like 2 weeks or whatever. But as you can see right there, at the end of the day, he earned $586 million today, and he hasn't closed a single position, which is why at the end of the day, I think that this entire movement is actually really successful. You don't have an individual at the top of it leading this movement that just is greedy or grifting people. He's in this battle with these, apes and everybody else. So it's actually pretty nice to see an individual that I believe he started this in 2021 with $53,000. And that's when he made his big first initial boom. And now, I mean, look at this. I mean, he disclosed at $170 million position, as you guys can see right there. Price paid $170 million position Sunday night, which is what boomed GME Monday by 80%. And then they dipped down a little bit. But today, I think that the hedge funds literally got squeezed. They weren't able to cover. They lost, I saw, upwards of $5 billion in 3 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, this all happened within 3 hours of the market closing, or before the market was closing. So this is incredible to see.
Keep this. Keep this ready, because I think there's a quick education, like what is currently on screen. I need that ready, because there's a quick education that I think is really, really important for a lot of people that don't know this. You might have heard a little bit about the GameStop thing a few years ago. You might have heard the term short squeeze and what that really means. And in short, because we don't have all night to talk about this, even though I really wish we did, a short squeeze happens in financial markets. The entire idea of this, when the price of an asset rises really quickly, causing traders who had sold short to close their positions. That's like and that might even be too much mumbo jumbo for you guys, but that's what a short squeeze is. And it was done, like David said, back in 2020, to the point of which it lost people like Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel, and so many more people that were very, very wealthy and huge players. When we talk about the players behind the scenes, like the George Soros type people and the people that you never really hear from, but are really pulling Biden's puppet strings, and people like that, people in power, that's who lost the money. And so then this guy, this Reddit poster, has to appear before Congress. Roaring Kitty, a guy who goes by Roaring fucking Kitty, has to appear before Congress because they think that in some way he might have been participating in market manipulation.
You mean he was doing the same thing Robinhood was doing? Get out of town.
That he was violating securities laws. This Redditor, this dude who posts, they think that he is violating securities laws. And but here's the thing, is what happened back in just a month ago. I mean, this happened back when people were holding in 2021. This happened just a month ago when Roaring Kitty started posting, is the price started to go up. And then we had 38 plus combined between GME and AMC, 38 combined holds. And when I say holds, stops, I'm not talking about your apes and people like me and David and Fabian who are just holding with diamond hands. I'm talking about the financial wizards, the people that control our ability to trade. They're stopping the ability for us to actually trade that stock. Why? Because it is losing the hedge fund puppet master billionaires. It is losing them money. And so, but bring this back up now, because when I explain that, so he has to testify before Congress for potential securities violations. 1 month ago, he tests the waters by making a post. You can see in this, in this screenshot, when he purchased these June. Oh wait, this is June 21st. That's for when that was. I'm sorry, there was a different. Maybe it wasn't in this. I didn't see it in this, but I saw earlier there was another screenshot. When I was doing some research on this during the day while this was happening, there was another screenshot that showed when he purchased these. It was after he made his post last month.
Yeah, he bought this actually either Friday or in the really early morning hours of Monday morning, right before GME went up 80%. GME was up about 50% before hours on Monday morning.
Exactly. And so the geniusness of this is, how are they going to accuse him of securities fraud or any kind of security fraud, any type of market manipulation? How are they going to accuse him when He obviously didn't. When he
Well-
when he bought it before.
Well, this is just like a scapegoat thing, right? That they manipulate the market themselves and they need to blame somebody else. So they bring in this random person from Reddit that just rallying a bunch of these people are just truck drivers, right? The teachers, right? The average Americans that
How
are
dare these
making
average
money.
Americans make those kinds of returns? They cannot have that. They need to go be a slave.
And how dare did they, close these institutions that have been going around for so long, making elites so much money, right? In 2021, we saw 3 different types of institutions have to close their doors because they lost billions for their customers, right? But how dare will the average American make a couple $1,000s or even maybe more, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, or like Roaring Kitty, multiple millions of dollars? How dare did they make that money, right? And we know this. They don't want people to have money at the end of the day. They really don't want that. They don't want to have an opportunity for average Americans to climb up the ladder and become an elite, essentially.
Well, here's the thing, and I was very, very, very deep in this in 2021. We had a stock trading group, and we all went really, really heavy into it. The one thing I realized during that time is that never in the history of humanity has the average individual had the tools and the technology to rival to a very close extent what these hedge funds have. We now have the ability to create our own high frequency trading bots, stuff that they would pay that they did pay millions of dollars to have computer science experts and coders come over with actuaries and stock traders and say, how can we build the perfect system? Now, anybody on the street can build these things and make money every single day. That we have the same capacity to see things in real time that they do and share information like over Reddit, right? We've never had a space where everyone can, in a decentralized way, have a central place that we can talk like a town square and say, guys, this is what we're going to do. They would pay people with old Reddit accounts to post, no, guys, it's not going to happen, to try to kill the spirit in the group. And every single day was something new. Something was happening. It was an incredible time to be in the market. And this is part 2. This is what was coming after. This is the sequel. And I don't know, now that there's so many more people involved, and everyone knows what happened the first time. It's not a new thing anymore. How many more people are going to get involved and who understand diamond handing something when you're faced with these hedge funds with hundreds of billions of dollars is the only way that you will win.
Abso-fucking-lutely. You're absolutely right with all of that. And I think it's the entire idea of populism. And there's even so much to be said for the parallel between the rise of Donald Trump and the ideology that he brought within the conservative movement. And there's so much that we could break down with that. But there's just a few things that I got to say, and it's going to be parroted. I have a quick short video to end out this segment, because when we talk about all this, we could talk about the populism. We can talk about Roaring Kitty. We can talk about the short squeeze, the finances, everything. But I do want to let Roaring Kitty outplay this segment. So if we can get that video played, because that is, and I just sent it in our private chat production.
Kev, while you stall,
here we go.
If anybody is like curious why Kev has so much energy, is because he's super excited that he potentially might make $30 back tomorrow.
This is what I have to say.
A lot of moolah, baby.
This is why I invest in AMC. This is why we invest in GME. It's not about the money. It's about sending a message. That's from The Dark Knight. But take a look at this.
Difficult 2020. Most difficult was the tragic and unexpected loss of my sister Sarah in June. I am grateful to be in a position to give back to and support my family. As for what happened in January, others will have to explain it. It's alarming how little we know about the inner workings of the market. And I am thankful that this committee is examining what happened. I also want to say that I support retail investors' right to invest in what they want, when they want. I support the right of individuals to send a message based on how they invest. As for me, I like the stock. I'm as bullish as I've ever been on a potential turnaround for GameStop, and I remain invested in the company. Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
There we go. I like the stock, baby. I like the stock. I like
That's
the
all he's got to
stock.
say. That's all you got to say. I like the stock. Hey
I
guys,
like the stock.
like the stock. It's really that easy. They say buy stocks that you believe in. This is literally like the number one rule is buy stocks and companies, sorry, that you believe in. That's all he did. Like, what's wrong with that?
Stock.
Can't do
Well.
it? Okay, well then show me where in the paperwork it says that, because I don't know.
I like the stock. That's what he said. I like the stock.
And speaking of someone who likes things, we have someone coming up next that doesn't like stocks, but likes a little bit of crack cocaine.
Oh,
And
I wonder
think
who
we
that
all
is.
know who loves the devil's dandruff. And I think we're going to talk about him next, right?
I think
David?
it's Fabian. Let's go to commercial.
Joe Biden, right?
Joe Biden likes a lot of things that are weird. That's for sure. But no, we're going to talk about Hunter Biden and his gun trial that is currently ongoing right after this little commercial break.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Here, have some freedom to up. Now, the Constitution is awesome. That's what it is.
Guys, we have poor old Biden who apparently pooped his pants today and fell asleep. And I'm not making this up. Apparently at different times, he didn't poop his pants and fall asleep. That would be pretty crazy. But his son, Hunter Biden, Mr. Crack Pipe Carl, as I have given him the moniker, is now facing his own version of a come down, and the fact that he is actually in court for illegally purchasing a gun in October 2018. So let me just quickly read this for you here. The son of the president, Joe Biden, is accused of lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, making a false claim on the application by saying he wasn't a drug user and illegally having the gun for 11 days. So today, we have another day of testimony that wrapped up. But here's the crazy part. So Joe Biden's wife, Jill, she's attending court with him. And it's really interesting because what we were told for a very long time didn't exist. What people literally got censored, banned, deleted off social media for talking about because they said it exists. What the CIA and all these other intelligence agencies told us did not exist, which is Hunter Biden's laptop, is now being used as evidence in court. Not only that, but Hunter Biden's ex-girlfriend said that Hunter Biden would smoke crack every 15 to 20 minutes. Not only that, but Hunter Biden allegedly, so I don't get a strike, slept with his brother's widow. Aside from that, Hunter Biden allegedly is texting members of the Biden family, young girls, allegedly, so much that in text messages that were on Apple iCloud that are now public information in a laptop that didn't exist, apparently, there are text messages asking them to keep Hunter Biden away from her daughter.
Wow.
In addition to that, there are pictures on Hunter Biden's laptop that have gotten me personally have been shadow banned because I have reposted pictures from Hunter Biden's laptop that didn't exist. So all of this is coming out right now. I think it's great vindication. The president, of course, said no one's above the law. So apparently his son isn't either. And I don't know if this is true, but apparently I heard that he said he won't pardon his son, apparently. But I would love to get your both of your takes on this, because this is a really incredible thing that apparently never happened, but now apparently happened.
And that's my favorite part about all of this, is that we were told for so long, at first it was Russian disinformation, then misinformation, and then it's a conspiracy theory, and then, oh, maybe there is a laptop. Okay, well, there is a laptop, but the things on it are not real because Rudy Giuliani gave it to the New York Post before ever giving it to the FBI and stuff like that. And, oh, there's no forensic file. That's another new thing that they're trying to throw. Well, at the end of the day, it's real. It's authentic. A lot of people were censored over this. There's polls that you can go and see for yourself. If Americans knew about this story, the story wasn't censored, especially the laptop story, then about 7 to 13% of Democrats would have changed their vote. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's this is why we highlight this story. I know a lot of people may be like, oh, we're still talking about Hunter Biden. Yes, we're talking about Hunter Biden because, again, nobody should be above the law. And he actually incriminated himself when he wrote his book talking about this. You're not allowed to be high on any drugs or using any drugs if you're going to be purchasing a firearm. Well, in his book that he just wrote like a year ago or whatever, he actually admits that at the same time that he was buying this gun, that he was abusing drugs, especially crack cocaine. So this idiot already he's just a dumbass. And just one more thing, this isn't even the big trial. The big trial is going to come down to the tax evasion stuff, right? And the funniest thing about this, I don't know why nobody points this out, but a big Biden donor actually paid the bill for Hunter Biden, thinking that they can just sweep this under the rug. So he literally invested, claiming that he's not getting back anything from this, $2-something million to try to put this, away. Well, thankfully, there's still some normal heads within the DOJ that actually continued their criminal charge against Hunter Biden here. So, and that'll start somewhere late in September, but again, before the election. So
I wouldn't give the DOJ that much credit. I firmly believe that the only reason that they have gone so far as to look into potential indictments and looked at different corruption charges and money handling charges is because of House Republicans that have done these kinds of investigations. And that's what I want to say. So I asked for it to make sure that we had this article up here is because I actually think that this entire trial is bad. Look, I'll talk about the laptop. You guys pretty much covered everything I covered about the laptop. I covered that stuff on Tuesday because the FBI, that's the day that the FBI witness had announced that. But go back up to the headline of this. Okay, I'm going to lay out something for you guys, and here's what the media does. So, Hunter Biden's laptop could be used as evidence in federal gun charges trial. So we as conservatives are focusing on the part that says Hunter Biden's laptop. Why? Because just a few years ago, I guarantee you could find a USA Today article that in some way hinted or explicitly said that the laptop was right-wing Russian disinfo. That's what we focus on. However, it also says federal gun charges. Look, these charges really aren't that big. These guns, it's about like kind of falsifying some records or potentially lying about his drug use. In court, all they're really saying is that all the defense is saying for Hunter is he was a drug addict. You should feel sorry for him. It's really not that big of a case legally. What they are using this for, and this is what we're going to culminate this with, is that what they're using this for is so that they can tell you that the justice system is equal. That's what they're using this for. They're blowing up these federal gun charges, which really aren't that big. The punishment for them would not be that large. They're blowing them up so that the week after Trump gets convicted of a felony, and apparently to the left, oh my gosh, he's basically just as bad as Ted fucking Bundy. Then they can put Hunter Biden up for trial for something that's really the most venial of sins that he's committed and would carry the least amount of issue. And then they'll be like, oh, well, don't worry. The justice system still is working because Hunter Biden is getting prosecuted for something. But the crimes he's guilty of, the crimes that are really bad that he committed, potentially even treasonous, he's kind of getting let off the hook for as of right now.
Well, I'd like to bring this up because Kevin, you brought up something very interesting. You said, I'm sure there's an article from the USA Today that from talking about how it was Russian disinformation campaign, and we actually have something from USA Today from October from 2020. That is a tabloid got a trove of data on Hunter Biden from Rudy Giuliani. Now the FBI is probing a possible disinformation campaign, and this is pretty funny. It says then 3 weeks before one of the most contentious presidential campaigns in history, federal authorities are investigating whether the material supplied to the Post by President Donald Trump's personal lawyer is part of a smoke bomb of disinformation pushed by Russia. This is the FBI.
Well,
This is the FBI.
under
They
Chris Wray?
declined to comment, refusing to either confirm or deny the existence of an investigation. So they didn't even confirm or deny if they were investigating it.
And now we know that they've known about this since February. So this article that you're reading was October, the one that was
October
previous
of
to the
2020.
to October
was
2020, and the
That was-
FBI was already knew about the substance inside the laptop since February of that year. But Bill Barr thought that it would be election interference if he would have started to investigate or had a opened up to the public that this is what's going on. So yeah,
Wow.
and yeah, it's Kev. I actually wanted to push back. Maybe we'll make things a little bit more controversial here for this segment,
Maybe.
but I believe that they're going. Well, they is not the DOJ, right? But they're prosecuting Biden or Hunter Biden because I don't think they found like a smoking gun so far in any of these Ukraine stuff, China stuff. Like you can find the transactions and whatnot, but the smoking gun that ties back to Joe Biden or
Are you kidding me? The
directly-
Tony Bobolinsky deposition that basically said,
yeah, but you have James Comer coming out every Friday talking about that we have evidence. It really reminds me of the Adam Schiff thing. I can't even lie, but just happening on our side about James Comer coming out every Friday taunting some big smoking gun. We haven't seen that for over a year. Jim Jordan, the same thing. I'm proud of him. He's really trying to get down to the bottom of it, but there's nothing there because at the end of the day, yes, Joe Biden is very, very corrupt, but there's just so much entanglement and it's so complex that I don't think that they will actually be able to find the smoking gun. And if they do, what are they going to do? Impeach Joe Biden? Or do we really want Kamala Harris? It's not going to get through the Senate either. So
Tony Bobolinsky, what was it? 50% for the big guy. You had the former Hunter business associate that testified about a year ago. God, I'm blanking on his name, but he testified that Joe was involved. We also have the copied letter. Like we have a scanned letter from like China or one of the Chinese business partners that talks about how Joe Biden was involved as well. There's so much. There's an abundance of evidence, and that was one thing that I was really proud of Kevin McCarthy's speakership for, is that they actually got the ball rolling, and while slow, they got a lot of the ball rolling on impeachment inquiries, on investigations, and we got a lot of evidence. And so, sure, maybe there's not a smoking gun, but the thing is that these gun charges are not even the most prosecutable thing. I'd rather be spending our money and our time investigating the things that I personally know. While legally, I'd have to say allegedly, I as a person can put the puzzle pieces together.
yeah.
Because in the legal system, you have a reasonable doubt that you have to prove beyond it. And so that's why they need this smoking gun. But the thing is that just because the gun's cooled doesn't mean that it wasn't used to shoot whoever.
Well, you know what? I disagree with both of you. I don't know both of you, but I don't care if Hunter Biden gets prosecuted. To me, that does nothing. That doesn't do anything for the American people. It doesn't help them put food on the table. However, what it does is if he's convicted in the court of public opinion and people themselves can put the dots together as Kevin has done and say, okay, let's look at the grand landscape of things. We got Hunter Biden with pictures of him smoking crack, banging hookers, banging his brother's widow, allegedly. These are all allegedly, except for the actual pictures on the laptop. Then we have Joe Biden's daughter, who has a diary that says that she was molested and that her father took showers with her and that she was sexualized at a young age. And those aren't allegedly; those are exact words from her diary. So you got a president who took showers with his daughter, did all these sexual things with her, apparently. A son who is doing everything that we talked about. Do I really want a guy leading my country who can't even lead his own home? Like the guy is allegedly crapping his pants. We know he's falling asleep. We know he's tripping. Like, how long until the switch comes where they say, hey, all right, Biden, your time's done. Whoever's pulling the strings, and it's like, hey, listen, you got a bunch of trash behind you. I'm sorry. It's not working out. Trump got convicted. He's getting in the polls. You're not doing anything. You're not campaigning. I don't see anyone in the streets with Biden hats. I live in Hollywood. I have seen zero people with anything about Biden on their shirt, on their hat, on their flags. Every now and then you see a Biden, something on their car. But it's like, if they're not campaigning, what are they doing? Why are they not campaigning? Sure, they have these little things here and there, but I mean, they're not really campaigning. I think the switch is coming pretty soon.
Yeah, well, one thing that's really going to go for Trump, and I feel like we can jump to Trump's segment like this to talk about his vice president, is the fact that if it's a lower turnout, that only benefits Trump even more. So really the only, if you want to put aside the shenanigans and whatever, and we just talk about what we saw in 2020, it jumped like 17 million votes from the previous presidential election. So a lower turnout is only going to help Trump even more. So I'm glad that you're not seeing support for Biden. I don't think we're seeing support for Biden really anywhere. Like, I'm here in Atlanta and I don't really see big signs for Biden. I don't see yard signs for Biden like I saw in 2020. So, well, it's definitely
maybe they're saving the money for whoever they're going to put after, and they don't want to have to take down all the Biden signs and put someone else's signs up.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. But we get into this next segment here, as we can see at the bottom there. Has Trump chosen a vice president? Well, according to the media and social media, he has actually sent vetting documents so that to a number of potential candidates to be his vice president, so we can really narrow down our discussion on this. With that, I think it's also important to point out that one name that you will not see on any of this is Kohl's. Why? Because Kohl's, the department store, has pulled out of funding anything when it comes to the Republican National Convention due to Trump. I just wanted to point that out there. Everybody's talking about it on Twitter right now, just as much as they're talking about his potential vice presidential pick. And so because it had to relate with Trump, I think it's interesting to talk about, especially because we consider, so Kohl's is pulling out of the RNC. So that seems to be, I mean, as far as I know, that seems to be a department store that wins very well with white women. Right? So which one of these vice presidential candidates can win back the white women vote that Kohl's just took away from the RNC?
Let's see. You got who do we got here, David?
So we got J.D. Vance, which is a senator from Ohio. We have North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, which surprisingly made a real huge come up right out of nowhere. That was interesting. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, which
that's
I know Fabian,
what I'm pulling for.
Yeah, Fabian has been rallying behind him for quite some time now. Florida Representative Byron Donalds, he's a great guy. New York Representative Elise Stefanik, which is really interesting. Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, and former Housing and Urban Development Secretary. I have to say this real quietly, so hang in there. Ben Carson. Ben Carson, if you didn't hear me say that, because you probably don't even hear him say that in the first place.
No, you don't.
Right. Well, I think the funniest thing that I remember about Ben Carson in that 2016 primary with Trump and everybody in the crowd there is him talking about, like, how is Ben Carson going to talk like speak so quietly when he's talking with like Xi Jinping, for example? Like come on now. So, but
listen, there's a thing in body language, David, where when you speak more lightly or less loudly, whatever you want to say, people have to lean into you, and it's actually a power move because they're coming to you. It's a subtle thing. If you're loud and boisterous, everyone can hear you. But if you want to suck people in, remember, secrets are done very, very, very lightly. So if you're telling someone something really important, you go, come here, let me tell you something. Listen, maybe we have Ben Carson all wrong. Maybe he's a secret genius. I mean, he is up to vice president. So
he is a genius.
Of course, Fabian knows during Pride Month how to suck people in.
Hey, Kev, I got the American flag pin on right now.
Yeah,
let's take it easy.
Well,
do the log cabin Republicans, Fabian.
They're taking it easy, which are constantly meeting in Mar-a-Lago. So that's interesting. That's a different
I have to
Really?
make fun, but I have to make fun of because why? Okay, I want to talk
Garnell.
about so Ben Carson. I don't mind Ben Carson. I like Ben Carson. We've talked about him on the show. I think he's a really nice guy. He also wrote a phenomenal children's book as well that everybody should go check out. But Fabian, you say you like Tim Scott. Why do you like Tim Scott?
Listen, if you're trying to get the black vote, I mean, we pretty much makes obvious sense. If you want someone who's just a very chill family guy, I think he's like engaged now, right? Or something like that, or he's married or something like
I
that.
believe he's engaged.
He just got engaged.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
To a
that's-
white woman.
to a white woman. So that tells me that they're setting everything up. Because as we know, typically politicians like to get engaged or married or at least have one kid before they run, because you got to live the gimmick to a certain point, right? If you're a wrestler, Hulk Hogan, he's still wearing the bandana, he still has the arms, he's still saying, "Hell yeah, brother." You have to live the gimmick. If you didn't if his arms got all small, you'd be like, "That's not Hulk Hogan. He does weird." Anyway, enough about wrestling. But he wins you the black vote. He's a conservative. He's now a family guy.
Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. I love this analogy. I'll let you finish, but Hulk Hogan works out for the same reason Tim Scott gets married. Like that's the analogy we just made.
Yeah,
works.
listen, you got to live the gimmick. So those are some of the reasons why I like Tim Scott.
See, but the thing is that okay, so we have 3 people on this list that are black. If you want to win the black vote, I don't think here's the thing is the black people of that population that Trump wins over, he wins the Tim Scott African Americans over already. He already does. Why? Because the kind of black person that Tim Scott wins over. Tim Scott is from South Carolina. Trump's already winning South Carolina with or without Tim Scott. It doesn't fucking matter. Tim Scott is a very profound Baptist, like very, very profound Southern Baptist like that. And again, that's a kind of black person, unless they're in Georgia voting for Raphael Warnock, then they are going for a Tim Scott kind of person, or for Trump already without Tim Scott. And so that's why I'm like, Tim Scott, if you go to Chicago or most urban areas, I guess Chicago is super, super blue. You're not going to expect necessarily any of them to go for Trump. But if you go to a urban area in which you have a densely populated African-American community that's not already in the South, they don't like Tim Scott. They think Tim Scott is demeaning, and he doesn't resonate with them. So if you want to win over the black vote, actually, I believe Tim Scott is to Republicans what Kamala Harris and Cory Booker were to Democrats.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And Fabian, I know you really like Tim Scott, but my thing here with Tim Scott is just in general, I don't think Republicans need to play the race card. Now, what they need to do is actually play the gender card, which is why I was actually pretty happy to see somebody like Representative Elise Stefanik. She's the 3rd highest ranking Republican member in the House. She really is behind Trump from the very start. The second that she made a name by being elected into this position as vice chair of the Republican Party or whatever, or in the House, whatever, she's always supported Trump. She always had his back. But the main thing here is that she's Jewish and she's from New York. There's a huge Juksit right now, Jews exiting the Democrat Party. Jexit, let's call it that, right? And what do we know about New York from the 2022 midterm election? We know that right there, we gained a lot of seats that traditionally don't go Republican. So we know we have the possibility of doing that, coupled with Biden's weak response in Israel, not really showing too much support for Israel anymore. I really think New York is in play. And how can you put New York in play to absolutely wipe out the Democrat chances is picking Elise Stefanik. Elise Stefanik checks off a bunch of boxes for me. There you go. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word boxes there for a second, but there you go. She's a killer.
Yeah, kind of. But if you look back to 2015 and 2016 era, the early days of Trump's first term, Stefanik was heavily critical of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Like heavily. If you look back at it, she was very, very much anti-Trump. Actually, I just pulled it up. Stefanik criticized Trump over everything from his incendiary comments about Muslims and women to his signature policy positions, such as reforming NATO, building a U.S.-Mexico border wall, and having stronger cooperation with Russia. In interviews during 2016, during the Republican presidential primary, Stefanik said Trump would not become the GOP nominee for president in one.
Oh, well, hold up. This is in the primaries of 2016, right? This is in post, like during his like term and whatnot, right?
Yeah,
Because
but
everybody and their mom was critical. You have Ted Cruz, one of Trump's favorite people now. Well, it goes back and forward. Who they got in a major fight, right?
But so that was when they quoted her during an interview. But they also discussed in the early days of his first term, his comments about Muslims and policy positions such as reforming NATO, building a border wall with Mexico. Like that's literally like 90%. Trump is still running on
Maybe
a
she
border
learned.
wall.
Yeah, maybe
So-
she learned. Because-
Also, I just want to point out, I think it's hilarious. Like, I'll be critical of Elise Stefanik just because I'm not the biggest fan, and because I'd rather vote for a dog killer than Elise Stefanik. But
whoa, it's like that. You would literally take Kristi Noem over Elise Stefanik. Kristi Noem can barely win South Dakota for you.
Look, I don't believe Jews run the world like Nick Fuentes people do, but I don't want to give people a reason to believe they do.
We're already screwed there. I mean, you should have seen him unleash his sheep farm today on me.
No,
But
man, I like JD Vance.
JD Vance is
JD
awesome.
Vance. I think
I
JD Vance is
totally
a
agree.
rising star. I think that JD Vance and Ron DeSantis both should be the future of the Republican Party. I think they're both strong voices, strong leaders, and I think they're very important. I will admit there's a downside to JD
Tim
Vance
Scott.
is the downside, and this is honestly kind of a downside to Tim Scott that I didn't bring up either. But Tim Scott and JD Vance share a downside in the fact that they are both very strong senators, and we have a slim majority currently in the Senate.
That's a
And
good point, Kev.
So to take either of them out would be something to consider when it comes to that. If we're talking about the identity politics game, I don't think Tim Scott would be the best of that. I think Ben Carson would be that. Why? I think Ben Carson is the black Doug Burgum, which are both the 2024 Mike Pence. What do I mean by that? Trump needs somebody who's quiet. And I know I'm probably cutting in and out right now because of my internet, so I'm sorry if I am. But
No, you're good.
You're good.
But in terms of 2024, Trump needs a Mike Pence. The reason he chose Mike Pence not only was a little bit for the Midwestern support of Indiana, and potentially Michigan, Wisconsin, this area, which is obviously highly contested. That's why the DNC is in Chicago and the RNC is in Detroit. Is because we're fighting for these areas. We're fighting for the battleground areas in the Midwest. Trump needs somebody quiet. That's what Mike Pence did. And so Doug Burgum, quiet white guy. Ben Carson, quiet black guy. That's the reason why. Well, yes, they're accomplished individuals. I'm not going to take away their accomplishments from them, but ultimately that's the big purposes that they serve is they are quiet. The JD Vance in there is because he could be a firebrand. He could be somebody who could be prepped to take over and run in 2028 as from vice president to president, just as much as Bush did after Reagan back in the 80s to 90s. Is you could continue the legacy. Tim Scott's purpose, I believe, is purely racial. I don't think it actually has anything to do with anything other than playing identity politics. Elise Stefanik, I also think, is entirely based on identity. Trump, as we know, is so much about loyalty, and she has not been through and through loyal. As soon as Ted Cruz dropped out of the primary, he was all in on Trump. Trump is about loyalty. Even DeSantis is still not in Trump's best graces for running against him in this last election, despite the fact that he's come out so hard for him. So I don't believe Elise Stefanik offers anything else. She also ousted McCarthy against Trump's wishes. She went for that. There's so many different ways in which I could point to how she is also in a diversity hire. The people that I do not believe are diversity hires, I don't think JD Vance is a diversity hire, and that's why I like him.
Yeah, but you have to also think about it from a strategic point. You can't just take it from a merit point. And I know this will sound a little progressive and completely anti-merit, but at the end of the day, you also have to look at the electorate and see what you need to appeal to. We know he needs to appeal to women. We know there's a huge disenfranchisement right now between the Jewish population who traditionally vote Democrat. So you can bring a lot of votes over there. Now, at the end of the day, I also think that the vice president probably doesn't matter at all. It probably can't earn you this big sway of votes and whatnot. So I'll just be honest with you. What I'm happy that I'm not seeing on this list, as much as I like the dude, is Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't think there's a single reason why Vivek should be the vice president.
No.
Yeah, no reason. And the reason I bring that up is because probably a lot of the people that are watching the stream, that is probably their favorite pick is Vivek Ramaswamy. But I understand he's an awesome dude. He goes after the media. He's your Trump 2.0. But
He is your press secretary.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
my
Press
dream team.
secretary.
Dream
Some
team.
people are saying attorney general. I don't think he's ever practiced law.
I-
So it's
Chief of staff.
like
Chief of
chief
staff.
of staff would be great, right? All these various positions, but people have some interesting wishes that I don't understand why. But the other person who I did not see on that list, which I can't lie, I'm pretty happy I didn't see, is Tulsi Gabbard. I think she's awesome.
Same.
She's done great and everything like that, but she's not a conservative. And Kev pulled that up a few weeks ago and showed everybody. She opposes a lot of the things that we support as even if you're socially liberal, you still will not like the things that she proposes and supports. So
Yeah, and as I said, I think like last month, if she's the number 2 and something happens to Trump, then you have someone who doesn't really have conservative values as the president. Like, no, come on, you can't do that. It's going to be an interesting thing to see. And we don't know if Trump can send these out to more people. I don't know if this is just his initial list. Maybe he's gauging, or his team is gauging how things are playing out. Maybe he has someone else in his back pocket that he wants to just see how things are going and then potentially bring them in. We really don't know anything other than what we have available to us right now. But I hope they thought about this 3 layers deep, because it's a very important pick. It's if something were to happen to Trump, or who is his heir apparent, even if it's someone young, can he make them into the banner holder that he needs them to be, or not necessarily him, but that the Republican Party and conservatives need them to be. And that's going to be interesting to watch. And that's why I didn't think that a lot of the picks that he didn't make made sense to not pick them, like a Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek. I think he's a
Nikki Haley, yeah.
Nikki Haley. I'm so glad she wasn't on the list.
I'm not. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
You know me. I like my Nickies.
Yeah, well, you like war. We know.
I know, I do. I like
You
war.
must own stock in Lockheed Martin. Or
He's a
something.
Raytheon guy. He has a bunch of option calls for November
RTX,
6, 2025 or 2024.
Boeing,
Of course,
I got it all in me.
I even have
loaded.
I have an uncle who's been working for Boeing for like 30 years, and I'm still nope, no Nikki Haley for me.
Well, that's hilarious.
I don't know. There's a lot of things to talk about with the vice president. We're going to keep talking about that as it comes closer and closer.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that will be both positive and critical of that pick. But I think it's about time, unless production is there. So
I think it's about time.
Production is indicating that there is a possibility that we may or may not be having some quick hits with Kev. Don't worry, at some point I will actually do the smashing. But only of computers, not men like Fabian. Okay, let's talk about the first thing here, which Fabian, I had to say that one because Fabian tried to take this away from me by bringing it up earlier. Biden shit his pants today, everybody. Take a look at this clip.
Distinguished guests, please welcome the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin.
What? What?
I'm gonna watch it again, guys. I'm sorry, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Of course you are, Fabian.
Distinguished guests, please welcome the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin.
Oh my gosh.
That is
What in the hell? He
You're
got stuck in the Matrix.
Yeah, and if I was gonna say if you're gonna shit your pants to Eddie's song, I guess it would be this one, right? I like it. I like how that was happening while they were introducing the Secretary of Defense. So
It reminded me when somebody, so I'm a Catholic. It reminds me of the first time somebody goes to a Catholic mass. Because if you've ever been to a Catholic mass, you know that, oh, we're standing now. Now we're sitting. And then we're kneeling, and then we're standing again, and then we're kneeling, and then we're sitting. And so it was kind of like when I see people like that I can tell have never been to a Catholic mass, or it's one of their first few times, they're like, they're like looking around, they're like, am I supposed to be sitting? But the thing is that he wasn't even really looking around. He was kind of just like looking down. And it was like, I think the reason why he was afraid to sit is because he knew he was going to smush it all around in his Depends.
but he wears a diaper, so I don't know why he would be so worried about.
That's the thing. He's even wearing he's like, should I sit down or should I stand up? And then he thought, it depends.
Wait, guys, I think maybe that's why he's always running, because he's like, hey, it's coming, guys. I gotta get out of here. And when he falls, it just makes it scatter more, and it just gets on his kneecaps and stuff. And then Secret Service has to do all that. Joe Biden's there. It's a whole mess. And then you got Hunter with his crack cocaine or whatever he brought in the White House allegedly, or someone did. Yeah, I think it's better for him to run. So just sit there and take it.
Oh my! I like how he like bent down and he like kind of checked around. I don't know what he was checking around. He was like, "It's my handler, Jill here. Okay, good. Oh, where's everybody else?" Like he's looking around. It's hilarious.
Speaking of handlers, quick hit number 2. Chelsea handler.
Wow.
Had to remind.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah. Chelsea handler had a message for 50 Cent. As we know, many rappers and criminals have come out in support of Trump since his conviction.
Rappers and criminals. I like it.
Which are basically synonymous. But 50 Cent had at some point voiced favorability to Trump. And don't worry, white woman Chelsea handler came to the rescue. Take a look and a listen.
About my ex-boyfriend, right? 50 Cent and his support of Donald Trump.
Yeah, what's going on between you? I saw your tweets and I go, wait, what's happening? Because you said he was your favorite ex-boyfriend, and then what does he do? Supporting Trump?
He says he doesn't want to pay 62% of taxes, which, by the way, isn't a plan of Joe Biden's. That's a lie. So he doesn't want to pay 62% of taxes because he doesn't want to go from being 50 cents to 20 cents. And I had to remind him that he was a Black person, so he can't vote for Donald Trump, and that he shouldn't be influencing an entire swath of people who may listen to him because he's worried about his own personal pocketbook. So I haven't heard back from him yet, but I am willing to, seal the deal in more ways than one if he changes his mind and publicly denounces Donald Trump. I might be willing to go for another spin, if you know what I'm talking about.
I guess the only thing she'll be spinning is the noose for all the Black people she's planning on lynching. So anyways, what did you guys think about Chelsea handler reminding 50 Cent that he was Black?
Wait, first of all, I didn't even know they dated. I don't know when they dated. Second of all, I just read that she's like 50, has no children, and she's just like miserable. She's like making these like troll videos now. It's like that's what happened to you, Chelsea handler. Like that now you're that person. Like, dude, you just make fun of those people, and now you become what you made fun of. I don't get it.
To me, it gave really like Biden 2.0 vibes when he was on Charlemagne's show and he was like, if you ain't voting for me, you ain't Black. Well, now you got Chelsea handler pretty much telling him like, yo, 50 Cent, remember, you're Black. You can't vote for Trump. Literally.
Well, that's what I think is, I found this one to be even like, look, I think Joe Biden's with Charlemagne the God was offensive. That was.
It's offensive that you call him the God too, by the way. But
whatever,
I'll let that slide.
Yeah, but whatever.
Listen, Kevin, the Pope is gonna come after you, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Be careful. Cracking jokes on Pride Month, calling Charlemagne the God.
Lowercase G. You guys.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
GAWD, right? God.
Yeah, Anywho. I thought that was offensive. I found this one with Chelsea handler even more offensive because it was I have to remind him he's Black. Like it's so demeaning. Women. It's so demeaning. It is a outright bigotry and like not even in a way of of racism in terms of because the thing is that she believes, the irony of all this is that she believes in that statement that she is being anti-racist by saying you can't vote for the racist Donald Trump because he's so racist. So I'm going to be racist, and as a white woman, tell you as a black person what you have to do because you're too stupid to realize that as a black person, Donald Trump doesn't support black people. Like there's so many convoluted hoops of just bigotry with this. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, guys, and I do want to give a shout out, not to 20, not to 50 Cent, but 25 Cent. And yes, this is a real person. This is a friend of mine. He is a midget who fights in Micromania. It's a wrestling show that they hold. It's all midgets. They had a mini Amber Heard versus mini Johnny Depp, but this gentleman is super cool. His name is 25 Cent, and he's a wrestler. He's a current champion, I believe, of Micromania. And this is him dancing. And this is literally 25 Cent.
Whoa.
That's his name. Oh, he's probably dancing to 20 to 50 Cent.
Oh, it's the baby.
Anyway, that's shout out 25 Cent. I love you, man.
Shout out to you, 25 Cent and 50 Cent. That's hilarious, honestly. Seriously, I'm not shocked by Chelsea Handler saying that. So
no, absolutely. Well, not only are we going to talk about what's going on in Hollywood, we also, of course, have to talk about what's going on in different places of the country, such as Alabama, in which they just crowned Miss Alabama. Can we just
roll Tide, literally?
Let's just is there's a video with this? I want to play the video. Let's just watch the video.
She is.
The skinny girl is so pissed.
That was the most cardio she's had all year.
I mean, you kind of knew it was going to happen. If it's between them two and it's Pride Month.
Look how pissed the other girls are. All right, production. If we could possibly just pull that up again and go back to the part where she was gonna go grab her, crown, her tiara or whatever. So let's get there. Yep. Oh, reverse just a little to where she's hugging her, because I want you to see this skinny girl. Could look at that. She can't even get her arms all the way across her. And this, I wouldn't say that usually, but this is Miss Alabama. So
right. I was surprised that she wasn't inbred, or at least we don't know. I guess that's not confirmed. But
Jim Adams said, "Did they need WD-40 to get that sash on?"
You'll get that on them bigger jobs.
Wow.
This is hilarious. No, I saw this, and what frustrated me the most is there was 3 or 4 pretty girls or women that were around her. So I'm like, they picked this over the other 4 skinny, kind of beautiful looking women.
Healthy.
What the hell?
Healthy.
Sorry, I don't want to fat shame anybody here except whatever we just saw.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sad that they're trying to change now. Okay. I read a lot of history, and I know that back in the day, if you were fat, that means that you were wealthy. But this is not a wealthy contest. This is a beauty pageant. And, typically, and I haven't obviously watched any of this, but sometimes you do things like a dance, or you do something, or you do, something to show that you have the ability to do something. I'm curious to see what this person did to prove that to the judges. That they can do anything. Was it something physical? Was it something mental? Was she play chess? I don't know. If she does play chess, I'd love to play her.
Hot dog eating contest, or that's actually a beautiful one. Or I think that this dude actually came up and said, my pronouns are he or she, her, and boom.
That is a female. That is a female. Like biological female. That was a biological female. I want to be
that's
clear.
at least there's one good thing going for Alabama there.
No,
is that they did
absolutely.
is that they didn't elect Mr. Alabama. So
No, that was a biological female, everybody. But I think my biggest issue with that is yes, it's glorifying that type of body style, which absolutely is a choice. Look, I know there's some people with specific metabolisms and things that make it harder to lose weight, but nobody is naturally that large. At a basic minimum, calories out versus calories out and your output versus calories in will lose weight. That is basic physics. That is physics, is that if you lose more calories than you are intaking, you will lose weight. You will.
Yeah.
That's how it works. And
how
so
your body works.
Joe Rogan had Neil deGrasse Tyson. I know he's all woke now, but one thing is one of the favorite things he ever said. He said, if scientists were to write a diet book, it would be one page, one paragraph, and it would say, and I'm paraphrasing, it said, in order to lose weight, consume less calories than you burn. He's like, and that'd be the entire book. That's all you need to do. Stop eating.
And let's not even just say weight. That's how you lose fat. That's how you lose fat. And look, it can also come with diet too, if you're making sure that you're excluding certain fats from your diet. But that's how you lose fat, which in turn is losing weight, because you could in some way also be gaining muscle if you're having certain proteins, and muscle is denser than fat, and thus you could be gaining weight while being skinnier and more tone. There's so much that goes into this, but at a very basic minimum, there's that. But I want to bring up this next one because Miss Maryland is Mr. Maryland now. So while Alabama was just fat, there's extra skin on Miss Maryland, and it's between his legs. So this is who just won. Bailey Ann, who I don't know what his birth name is, but this is who just won Miss Maryland USA.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I listen, everybody that's watching, I have no idea what story Kev pulls up next. And I just find it funny that I nailed the Handler one, and apparently I just nailed him, Mr. Alabama, but it was Mr. Maryland. This is crazy. This is disgusting. Such an attack on women. But apparently, because I'm a guy, I shouldn't be able to talk about women.
Don't
issues.
mansplain
So,
about other men stealing things from women, David.
Better way to put it. Exactly.
Well, look, here's the thing. Actually, Fabian, you go first because I'm going to blow your mind.
I mean, it's a dude who won a beauty pageant for women. It's a dude. I mean, how much narcissism do you have to be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to enter this beauty pageant as a dude, and I'm going to guilt everyone into giving me the trophy. Like, what? And people are like, oh my gosh, you're so brave. What are you brave for? What exactly did you do? Did you land on Omaha Beach in D-Day? Like, what exactly should you be celebrated for? For having like a wang and then going on stage and shaking it for people? Like, I don't understand.
Well, if we're going to talk about wangs and shaking it for people, we don't need to be discussing your Friday nights, Fabian, because we do know that you live in the Hollywood, Los Angeles area.
In the heart of the beast, in the belly of the beast.
Exactly.
The belly of the beast.
Exactly. No, but I think I don't understand why you guys aren't embracing this. Look.
Well,
because I'm a bigot.
Because
let me finish. Let me finish, boys. Look, I'm occasionally, when I want to be, I'm a woman because it's convenient sometimes for sakes of arguments. But I will be a man right now. And I will also live up to another moniker that I'm oftentimes given, and that's a sexist. I'm oftentimes told I'm a sexist. And so being a sexist, I have to consider how in which do we keep women in their place? Well, we become as men, we become so good of men that we are even better than women at being women. And so why would I celebrate Mr. Maryland? Because to truly restore the patriarchy, we have to show women that they are so number two to men that we're better than them at even being women.
It's a good point right there, Kev.
And Dylan Mulvaney proved it. I mean, the Haas, I'm going to call him the Haas, really proved it. Like, he is apparently, according to Bud Light and a lot of other places that are paying him hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, at he's a better woman than being woman. Like, wasn't he like, wasn't the dude like modeling sports bras? Right. I mean, I guess it's just nipple bras at this point because there's really nothing to cover. But anyway, I don't know how I got Dylan Mulvaney, dude. You're weird.
No, absolutely. But and of course I'm against biological men competing against women. If you've ever watched anything on my channel, you would know that. But if we got to have fun with it, because there's me commenting on Breakaway USA right here, right now, is not going to change the fact that Mr. Maryland is Mr. Maryland. And so might as well just have a good laugh out of it, because that's what we should do to these people. Bring back bullying, bully these people and bully them out of society so that they can, well, not bully them out of society, bully them back into their place. You're a biological man. Do not validate it. That's how we restore character to society. And speaking of restoring character to society, let's talk about somebody who seems to have lacked some for a lot of her life, and that's Miley Cyrus, on why she may never have children.
What?
My fans
What?
kind of are my kids. According to Miley Cyrus, she's not sure she ever wants to become a mom, but mentioned that she considers her fans to be stand-ins for children anyway. The 31-year-old celebrity made remarks during a recent interview with W Magazine released this week saying, quote, "I love being an adult. I have a rule that I don't look up or don't look down on anyone. I just look, which allows me the clarity to see the world for what it really is and people for who they really are." She added, quote, "I look at myself almost every day in the mirror and I say, I am a woman. I'm 31 now and I still don't know if I want kids or not. I feel like my fans are kind of my kids in some way." I've heard Dolly Parton say that too, because she didn't have kids. What do you guys think about this?
So let me just tell you, like 2014, 2015, we were at the Rainbow Room, and she was, we were hanging out, and she was, it was a small group, and she goes to the bathroom and she comes back and she's like, "Oh my God, you guys, I lost my phone." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. We'll just go find it. I mean, you have a passcode on your phone, right?" And she's like, "No, I don't." I'm like, "You're Miley Cyrus. You don't have a pass lock, like a 4-digit lock on your phone." "No, and I have a bunch of nudes on there." So we're like, "Oh my God." So we went and we're looking for it. No one can find the phone. The bathroom attendant is like, "I have your phone." And I'm like, "Dude, you better pay her some money." Like, this is the person. I just want to put into context what she's really like. At least I don't know if she's changed, but I don't want her to have kids either. So I'm completely for this, guys. It's just I'm 100% for this. Let me just say that.
Same here, honestly. It's like when I see people, like, I advocate for people to have kids. You need to have kids if we want to survive as humanity, right? But people like this is a prime example of people that I don't think should have kids. Why? I think that they probably aren't going to raise their kids to be I don't even know how to, I obviously don't advocate, or
they're going to be a Biden father.
Exactly. There you go. It's going to be a Biden father. You're going to raise a bunch of noodle kids and stuff like that, or how Fabian always says is, what is it, spaghetti noodle arms?
Spaghetti on mafia.
There you go. So I'm glad to see that, because Miley Cyrus is a little cuckoo and should probably like go and party while her kid is like 3 months old, like by himself at home.
Look, I was recently complimentary of Miley Cyrus. She came out with a song called "Used to Be Young," to which it kind of gave some sense of closure to her angsty post-kid celebrity era, where she obviously got rebellious and twerked on Robin Thicke and became just kind of like the very slutty person. She also went through, obviously, her very public relationship and divorce from the Hemsworth brother. But then she comes out with things like this, and I'm ready at all times to go after celebrities who are like, "Be a boss bitch," and "I'm a strong, independent woman, and I don't need no man," and blah, blah, blah. And I usually go after stuff like that. And I agree with you guys. Like, there are some people that it's probably better that they don't reproduce. I think the thing that I have a problem, though, with this is like, so her quote in this article, "I love being an adult." No actual adult has to say that they love being an adult. Anybody who actually is an adult. And then she goes on to say, I have a rule that I don't look up or don't look down on anyone. I just look, which allows me clarity to see the world. I'm sorry. Like, I know that being a kid's star can come with certain troubles. And like, there's things like Drake Bell, who was sexually assaulted. Like, I'm not going to deny that in some ways there can be issues, but she was raised with her dad having everything handed for her, like with Billy Ray Cyrus being like, okay, we're going to get you this Disney deal. We're going to do everything for you. You to tell me to say that you don't look up or look down on anyone is some of the most pretentious shit I could possibly. I just look, which allows me.
Yeah.
It's like when a white woman says, I don't see color, but I had to remind 50 Cent that he was black so he doesn't vote for Donald Trump. Like, that's what that's the kind of idea that it's pushing. And so
the problem with these ladies, Kevin, is that they don't have any kids, so they still want to be mothers and they try to mother other people. It's like, have kids and just mother your own kids. Chelsea Handler, dude, you're 50 years old. I mean, I'm sure she can still have kids now, whatever. But it's all like they need to be mothers, but they just don't have kids. And like, I don't understand why I feel like this. Why am I a Karen? It's like, well, because it's a biological thing. If you believe in biology, you have that instinct to be a mother. If you're not going to mother your own kids, you're just going to try to mother 50 Cent. Like, dude, leave the guy alone. He wants to vote for, he wants to vote for. Like, dude, chill.
Absolutely. And so that's I guess that's the way I see it. She just comes off as pretentious, and I don't think she realizes the bubble that she lives in, and how pampered she has been for her entire life. Not to say she hasn't gone through struggle, not to say that that something's been hard, but she's been pampered. And so everybody, that's this week's Kev's Quick Hits.
Boom, boom. At least she knows. At least she knows what is. I'll say there. At least she knows what is a woman at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, that's true. She does know what is.
This is true.
But everybody, not only is that Kev's Quick Hits, that wraps it up for this Thursday's edition of Breakaways USA's news show. We have new content that comes out pretty much 7 days a week, so make sure you follow us at all of our handles, but especially at Breakaway USA. Don't forget to like this video, like our channel, subscribe to all of our Twitch, Twitter. I don't know if we have Twitch, but we have Rumble, Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff.
Telegram.
Find us everywhere. Find us on our Telegram too. I don't know if we can bring that up real quick while I finish this out. But make sure you follow us everywhere. Like, subscribe, share, comment. We will reply to your comments, especially if they're funny ones. Like I've seen Jim Adams in our comments consistently, and he says, thanks, gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in, Jim. Thank you, John, Demon Gorl, and other people that were in our comments today. God bless you. God bless America, and break free with Breakaway USA.